Hi, Lisa. Rabbi Dan.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Just, hi, Jackie. Rabbi Dan. So, can you just come with me for just a second? I just wanted to let you know. So, we're downhill. All water flows downhill. So, we've got a lot of water in the grave. We pumped out as much as we could, but it keeps filling back up. It'll be fine, and the water's going to be there eventually anyway.
Yeah, it's okay.
But when we place the casket in, everything should go fine. But sometimes, because there's water in the grave, there's displacement. And so the water either comes up or the casket floats a little bit.
Okay.
We want to avoid that.
Thank you for telling us. We're all good. We're good.
So we're keeping, normally we would put the digger away, but we're keeping the digger there just in case we need to push the casket down as the water comes up. Okay?
You don't think
Does it
Lisa
have to
and
be
I can
placed in a
shovel enough
particular
rocks?
position?
Well, what happens is when we add dirt into the grave, the water goes up.
Yeah,
The water and then the
yeah.
casket goes up. And so I've been doing this a long time. It doesn't happen that often, but occasionally it does. So we're prepared for it.
Yeah.
But it's a little disconcerting. So.
No, we're good.
We'll be okay.
Okay.
That's the
But
least
thank
of
you
our
for telling
issues.
me. But thank you.
So I'm gonna pin these Kriya ribbons on you.
Yeah, yes.
If I can.
Did you hear that? Just maybe they should hear it too for
And
the
put it on
children.
your scarf or your.
No, let's put the
There's
sweater.
water in the grave, so it might float. But they're gonna-
We're gonna try to mitigate that as much as possible.
We should wear galoshes when we do that stuff on it.
Well, it's pretty mucky down there, but that's the way it is.
I'm wearing running shoes.
So the Kriya ribbon that you're wearing, it's a reminder that we're in mourning, just as we did for your dad. I'm going to tear the ribbon as a sign that we're in mourning, and then we'll say a blessing to you. And if you repeat after me, Adonai Natan,
Adonai Natan.
Adonai Lakach,
Baruch
Baruch Shem,
Shem.
Adonai Mivorach,
Adonai Mevorach.
Baruch Dayan,
Baruch Dayan.
Ha'emet.
Ha'emet.
Eternal God has given, and wisdom beyond our understanding, God has taken away. Blessed be God's glorious name forever and ever. Blessed be the Judge of truth. Amen.
Amen.
So we're going to walk down here just to the left of the hearse and ask everybody to gather over on the, I'll point it out, over in that little spot over there, and I'll ask the pallbearers to come stand at the back of the hearse. Okay, do they know who they are, or do I need to call them by name?
Milo and Emmett, you know your call, brothers. And Ian Troy. And then Richard's a call, brother.
Okay, and is there one more?
Yeah.
Should have 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you all could come with me to the hearse. Friends, thank you for being here this afternoon. I'm Rabbi Moskovitz. I'm going to be officiating the funeral. I did Harry's a few years ago. Just a word or two. It's very slippery and wet down there, so please be careful. We're going to stand on the grass part on the other side of where the camera and the podium are set up, or the lectern is set up. So just on that side of it, you'll walk along the path here, and just carefully as you step. The ground's a little soft. And the pallbearers are going to join me at the back of the hearse. So if you'll come down this way, and we'll get started. Okay, I got 6 guys. Yeah, we'll go right there. So everyone, come down this way if you would. And then just come along this path and stand on the other side of the camera that's set up. So you're facing this way. If I could ask the pallbearers to stand 3 to a side facing each other at the bumper, right up against the bumper. 3 in a row. And there should be one more coming. There's handles that are coming as it comes along. Pass the handles along. Which way do you want us? Head is here, so yeah. You want to go that way? Okay. Friends, we're going to come right along here now. Umkenato lishanei afar, micha mocha ba'agivarot umido melach, melech mimitum chayim matmiach Yeshua. Mechalkel hayim bechesed mechayim etim berachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rofeh holim umatir asurim. Umkenato lishanei afar, micha mocha ba'agivarot umido melach, melech mimitum chayim matmiach Yeshua. So head is here. Watch your step on that piece of wood there. Swing it around. Bend at the knees, please. Come off the same way you came on, everyone. Eliezer, we're going to leave it for the service and then place at the end. Please come closer. It's okay. And come closer. It's good to see you. Good to see you. You want to pass these out for me? That'd be great. Thank you. Sinai, Echarim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Sinai, Echarim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Ezri, Me'madonai, Osei, Shemayim V'aretz, Ezri meim Adonai, Osei, Shemayim v'aretz. I lift my eyes up to the mountains, and what is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth. We stand here in this beautiful place, right alongside Herod. Grounded in this sacred space, we come to say goodbye and to celebrate a life well lived and fully lived, a life rich with people and with family. When Elaine's children asked her at the end, she said, I'm not sure what prompted the question, but the answer was that she had no regrets, that she had lived a good and full life, and that she was proud of her children, her grandchildren, and all that they had achieved and accomplished, and what she and Harry had accomplished together. And so though there is sadness and our hearts are broken, there is also a sense, I hope, of blessing and gratitude for the time that you all had with her, for the time that they had together and that this family had. And so let's focus on that. Let's celebrate her life and focus on the lessons that we can draw from it. Our tradition tells us that when a person dies, their soul goes up to heaven to help God run the world. We can imagine for a moment what Elaine would be telling God about how to run the world. Might have a few opinions on that. And I find tremendous comfort in that imagery. I think many of us probably grew up with that idea. But as I've come to be with families in this moments, I see also that people live on not so much in heaven, but in us. That they live on in the people that they leave behind, who take the essence, the ikar of their life and incorporate it into our own. And so I want to invite you to think about what was the essence of Elaine's life. What was the jewel, the part of her neshama, of her soul that we do not bury, that can live on in this world if we take it and incorporate it into our own. To help us put all of that into a frame of reference, our tradition has been to turn, and we will now, to writings of the prophets and to those of the psalmist of King David, to find in those ancient words of comfort and consolation for our present circumstance. In one of those, in Psalm 15, King David asked the question, Adonai, mi yagur b'ochalecha, mi yishkan b'char kodshecha. God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain? I read this same psalm at your father's funeral because it speaks about menschlichkeit. It speaks about the measure of a good person, and it is as fitting for your mom as it was for your dad. Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may do not retract it, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken and shall dwell on God's holy mountain. Amen. Another psalm, perhaps one that's more familiar, is on the inside of your handout. Psalm 23. It speaks to us, the mourners, as we stand in the valley of the shadow of death. We're not alone in this moment. You're comforted by those that stand with you, and for those that are able to access it, we're comforted by our faith as well, which travels with us and guides us along our path towards healing and wholeness. The Lord is, let's read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for the sake of God's name. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Another reading from our tradition, this one from the Proverbs. It is Jewish custom that on Friday night, on Erev Shabbos, when the table is set and the candles are lit and the wine and the challah are blessed, before the eating begins, in a traditional Jewish home, the husband would go to his wife and offer a blessing, this blessing from Proverbs. In our home, we offer it to each other in a more egalitarian way, but the words, though they come from a different time, they are in many ways timeless. I don't know that your dad ever offered these words out loud to your mom, but I do know from what you've shared that he felt them every day, and so did you. Eshet Chayil mi yimsa, a woman of valor who can find. She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity and faces the future cheerfully. She was a cheerleader. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her, and her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but Elaine, you Eshet Chayil, you excel them all. Amen. Kol zman be'et lekol chafetz tachat hashamayim, to everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak. And so now it's time to speak, to draw those lessons, to share those stories, to keep her very much alive in this world. So I don't know what order you all want to speak in. let Jackie and Lisa do it. Either you want to start? Okay. There is a little microphone here which is sending to the computer, the camera.
My mom told me when I moved from California to Seattle, if the rain stops and the sun shines, drop everything and get outside. So here we are. I want to share a few words to describe some of the many things I love about my mom. Mom, I love the fact that every morning you woke up with a giant good morning. Happy to see me, happy to start the day, happy to be alive in this world. You loved and appreciated your life, your childhood, your marriage to Dad, me, Lisa, all our leaves on our maple tree, the hummingbirds at your pink geraniums, the Tony only like sky on the dike, the wild daffodils that we might have picked in the park, the snow geese. Okay, maybe not the poopy snow geese, and our Richmond friends know what I'm talking about here. I love the way your brilliant mind worked. You were rightly proud of your PhD and of Lisa's, and proud of being an early computer programmer, another trait that you were happy to pass on to Lisa and Milo and Emmett. But your brilliance was far more than that. You applied critical thinking to every kind of challenge, from hours of Parkinson's research to help Dad, to how to market culture days for the city of Richmond, to eyebrow styling. On fleek, that's our new word this month. You had a deep appreciation for creativity and the arts and how important it is at every age. In high school, you won Best Actress and went to Banff School of Fine Arts for drama. And it was a great joy for you to realize this passion again later in life. You put this passion to work for your senior drama group Platinum Players, finding fun plays or writing them, bringing together an international group of actors. You made a role for everyone. As you practiced and as you performed at community centers, senior living facilities, on Zoom in the pandemic, you spread joy. Cared most passionately about people. If the phone rang, you always picked it up. If the doorbell rang, you ran to answer. You constantly thought about ways to help others. In my mom's last visit with the palliative doctor, when she asked if Mom had any questions, all she wanted was advice for her friend Bingo. You cared for Dad with all your heart and soul and energy, with your entire being, the same way you cared for Lisa and me growing up. As E. Cummings says, I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart always. When I wear green, Emmett's color and mine, and Mom's and Nanny's. When I make a killer chocolate milkshake, or blintzes, or carrot pudding, or even a salad with the favorite little cucumbers and mini peppers. Where's Aki? Yeah. When I solve a word puzzle or do a yoga workout. When I'm uncertain about whether I'll be able to do something, like be a writer, and I hear your voice in my head telling me I'm brilliant and beautiful, and you know that I can do anything I set my mind to. It's been the greatest blessing and honor to have you and Dad as my parents. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. I think my sister spoke really well about my mother and her vibrancy and I feel very fortunate to have been raised by such a loving and caring person. Not only was she an incredible mother, wife, and daughter for her parents, but she was also an inspiration to me. As a child, I knew her as a caring parent, dedicated to taking care of people in her life, especially my dad and my sister and myself. And I didn't realize until I grew up how hard that really was to do, like how much coordination and time it takes to run your own life. And I have a deeper appreciation now for my parents and all of the things that they did to make my childhood so incredible. My mom always said that she could, that her parents had made her life so that she could cherish it. And I truly feel the same way about like how she made our lives so that we could, you know, stand here and talk about how wonderful they were. And I grew up in this home with really great memories. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the younger years. And of course, you know, she was around for a long time. We won't say because she would like to be 29 forever in her life. But I'll talk about a few simple things. We grew up in Edmonton where it was really cold, and we would go out in front of the house and build these ice forts together and then put little shelves in them, and then my mom would go make hot chocolate for us and she'd bring it out so that we could put it on the shelves to like make sure that we were warm in our little ice forts. And we rushed outside in Edmonton and we saw the most beautiful aurora borealis you could potentially see, like green in the sky in the middle of a snow white background. And we rushed out to the dike just a few weeks ago, right? With her hardly able to walk out there so that she possibly could see it with us again. We didn't get to see it. It was cloudy. But I have incredibly happy memories about this, and I have happy memories about our childhood birthday parties where she coordinated all the kids and the games, and she would bake these incredible cakes that I thought were just over the top. She would wrap little coins up and put them in the cake, make sure the kids didn't swallow them, but like people would get like a gift with every piece that they got. And she didn't just bake the cake and decorate it, but she taught my sister and I how to bake and decorate cakes and how to cook. And this love for cooking and baking has like gone on in our lives. And it's like my pleasure now to be able to bake cakes for my nephews and my sister on their birthday and my husband. And this is part of our lives now that she really instilled in us early on. And then as I grew older, I began to like appreciate her intellect. I mean, I think many of you know how she's a very smart lady. She loved to read and had a vocabulary, memory, and quest for knowledge that was truly like incredible. She passed many of these traits on to my sister. Very little to me, but my sister's like got these incredible traits. My husband Troy learned firsthand about my mom and her vocabulary when he challenged us, and we went to play Boggle after dinner. And my mom, she would like come up with these crazy words, and then we would be like, that's not a word, and she would say, oh no, this is the definition of it. And then we would Google it, and she was right, like every single time. And it happened more often than not. Sadly, my vocabulary is not as good. But it was incredible to like learn from her and feel that way. She didn't even know it, like she did influence my career. First I went and became a scientist, but then she was extremely interested in computers all her life. Like early on, way before I was born, she worked for IBM and with punch cards when they were really, you know, that was how the computer worked. And then she made sure that we had access to like early computers and early internet through the phone. And this kind of thing gave me confidence to like change careers later in life and become a software engineer, and really like be able to build things for people, help people get vaccinated and things like that. I don't know. Jackie said, I don't know if there's a genetic inheritance for it because her husband's also very strong in it, but her children are very strong in this area now. My mom put her children first. She like valued education, but she waited to get her full education until we were ready to go away to college. And she went back afterwards and got an MBA and PhD. But she really like valued like raising us and making sure that we were on our feet. And she looked out for us. When I finally got to graduate school, my mom listened to me all the time. And I babbled on and on about these things that I don't think she cared about at all, like, you know, cellular development in a worm. But she, like, by the time I graduated, she joked, like, she had all but dissertated in biochemistry. And she really did. Like, she knew everything. She could talk to me about it, and I could, like, ask her questions. And she really, like, supported me. She taught not just me, but she also taught people in college. After she graduated, like she had a job and she went out and taught people. And the other thing, like secretly, she taught something that meant a lot dearly to me. So my mom wasn't like the hugest fan of the fuzzy animal, but I love all fuzzy critters. And so I would like beg to get a dog or a horse when I was a little kid. And of course, she was the voice of reason, right? Like, it's a lot of responsibility. And she would say, no, like, that's not happening. But then I, like, was really persistent because I was a child. And I started with a fish, and then I went to a budgie, and then I went to a hamster. And then, like, now I went to crazy sugar gliders, which I really enjoyed. But when they passed away, my mom was like, you get a dog. You know, I was quite late in life. And then she welcomed them into her home. My first dog, Chester, and now my puppy, Uni. And she secretly had a relationship with my hamster. So one day when I was a child, I got sick and I was home from school. And my hamster was living in this cage in my room with it was a Habitrail cage, and it had a little tube with a penthouse in it and a metal lid on it. And I was in the room, and in the afternoon, you know, they're nocturnal animals. So he was up in his little penthouse. He starts banging away at this little metal lid. And then my mom comes, and I think she's coming for me, but the hamster sees her, and he dives down the tube like at 90 miles an hour, only for her. And then he gets into this little position and is like, and I'm like, what is going on? And she walks over and she opens the main lid, and she gives him a sunflower seed. And he didn't even recognize me. I like spent all these hours taking care of him, but he knew my mom. And they had like communicated with each other and felt this really special relationship. And then very recently, when I brought this 5-month-old puppy into the house, and my mom's very not well, she helped me train him because he was demand barking at the table at us. And I had to go, and I was like, we have to stop this, but I can't yell at him and stuff. So we put him in the bathroom, and he barked in the bathroom. And like when he barked, I would take him and put him in the bathroom. And my mom would hold my hand and talk to me through it, that it's okay. We waited together until he stopped barking, and then I let him out of the bathroom. And we only had to put him in there 3 times, and then he stopped barking altogether at the table. But she was there for me, and she understood like what was good for Uni. And there's just so many things that she did for us that I just can't describe. And I know all of you knew her in different ways and probably knew various different aspects of her personality. And so I'm really like happy. It's important to me to say that these last days were filled with love. It was really, and she told us how glad she was. And you mentioned this, to have had like the life that she had and how nice it would be to be next to my dad now in this amazingly beautiful place under these trees. She had no regrets. I'm glad we can honor this and this request, and she'll be in my heart forever. I'm super thankful to be raised by her.
Did you still want the other people to speak here or back at them?
I think if there's time, we could open it for short ones.
Yeah, speak when standing for a bit. Short ones, yeah.
You mentioned there'll be time at the house.
Yeah.
So we will.
I know some were hoping or planning to speak here at the cemetery, and you're welcome to if you'd like to, briefly, aware that everybody's standing, but there'll also be time back at the house, perhaps where people will be more comfortable and be able to listen a bit more as well. But would anybody like to say anything else while we're here?
Jackie, Lisa, Lee, Troy, Emmett, and Milo, and Uni. It's been almost 2.5 years since I was here for Harry, and he was a great friend to me, and we played bridge together, and we had a great time. So, how do I remember Elaine? Elaine would always say to me, Ty, keep phoning because he looks forward to your calls every week. You don't know how much it means to him and me to hear your voice. He kept saying to me when Harry was in a difficult spot with his Parkinson's and he could not reciprocate, but I was able to talk to him. If it made him feel good, it was good for me to just speak to him. When I would call Elaine, see how she was doing, I could tell in her voice she missed Harry so much. And when we would go and visit, we would go on long walks and we'd have lunch, and it was always Chinese food. She liked to talk about the plays she was putting on together and finding people to play the roles. She was a great manager. I took in one of her plays, and it was well done and very funny. Just as I talked to Harry every week, I started to call Elaine to make sure she was well and if she needed anything. And time went by. Elaine shared with me that she was seeing doctors and there were signs of cancer. With a brave face, we both prayed and we said to each other, we can overcome this. Every week I would call her and she would give me an update of her condition. And I would always say, Elaine, you can do this, keep on fighting. But life throws us a curve and things don't go our way. As the weeks went by, the cancer increased and she took on chemo and radiation treatments. I can remember telling her, only 4 more treatments and I'm still fine, she would say. She was a very brave lady and did not want to give up the fight. On many occasions, she would always quote what Harry says, don't you know how much it means to him to hear your voice? And I figured that out that it was on her behalf as well. I guess she wanted to hear my voice. Not that it's angelical or anything, but there it was, and I was so happy too. And so I say to the family, it was a privilege and a joy to talk to Harry and Elaine, my dear friends. Our conversation was always two-way street. And I'm just going to close with an email I sent to Lisa and I thought I would just read it. It was 2 days before she had passed, and I wrote to Lisa and Jackie. It was a joy to see and a delight, and especially to see my dear friend, Elaine. My emotions were joy and sadness at the same time. It was difficult for me to hold back the tears because I'm a very emotional person. But to see her with that wonderful smile, I just couldn't resist to give her a big hug. And it was great that while we were talking at the bedside, I was able to talk to Jackie and Lisa and get to know them a little bit better. And they became more friendly, and we become more friends. And I just wanted to describe what I saw in the bedroom was overwhelming in my eyes. I saw two angels ministering, instructing, kindness, and so much love. You love your mother, and she loves you both, cannot be denied. Your mother first, before anything. Much praise.
Thank you, Tom. Sure.
I'm just my Jewish mother would not forgive me if I didn't read just something from her. I'm Richard Pollock. I'm Diane Pollock's son. My mother is in Winnipeg and unable to travel. So, and I'm going to speak as she spoke, and I won't be more than a minute. We gather here today to celebrate the life of Elaine Friedman, my best friend for over 55 years. It's hard to find the right words to express the depth of loss that I feel, but I'm grateful for the time that we shared over many years. I met Elaine when we were both newly married, and from the very beginning, I knew I'd found a friend for life. Elaine was kind, generous, and fiercely loyal. Elaine had a way of making everyone feel special, no matter the situation. Whether it was offering a helping hand or sharing a word of wisdom, Elaine always made the world a brighter place. 55 years is a long time, but it feels like it wasn't long enough. Yet, in that time, Elaine left an indelible mark on everyone she met. The world is a better place because of Elaine's kindness and love. To know Elaine was a blessing, and I'm forever grateful for the bond we shared. Although I know we're all heartbroken, we can find comfort in the memories and the legacy that Elaine left behind. She will live on forever in our hearts. Thank you, Elaine, for 55 years of friendship, love, and unforgettable memories. You will not be forgotten.
Okay, I'll keep it as brief as possible. Elaine was one of my mother's oldest and dearest friends. They were bridesmaids at each other's wedding. Not to mention my grandmother was buddies with her mom. So families go back quite a long ways. My parents, Robbie and Gloria, always maintained a very close relationship with Harry and Elaine over the years. From seeing them at the high holidays to walking around Stanley Park back in the day when parking was free. And since my mom wasn't a big walker, I would often join with the dogs and do the Sunday trek around the park, where we had many a conversation on those outings. As my dad often says, are we solving all the world's problems? No, but we covered a lot of ground. Our relationship continued from there. Elaine was a passionate, inspirational, positive woman who was ahead of her time in so many ways. Elaine was a wealth of information and was always eager to jump in to offer suggestions or advice on how to move forward with any challenge anybody had. She always wanted to help, always. I know she found her passion the last few years with theater. She often said she finally found her calling. Theater production was it. Better late than never. Elaine was very dear to me and my family. I will miss her zest for life, passion, and wisdom, and most of all, our spontaneous, lengthy talks. She will always be remembered and missed. She'll live on in our hearts.
Thank you. Again, there'll be opportunities to share more back at the house afterwards. We're going to conclude our service with two prayers. One is El Malei Rachamim, God who is full of compassion. It's a prayer for Elaine's soul. It's not in your handout, but I will chant it for you and on her behalf. El Malei Rachamim, Shulchan Bamromim, Amitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfecha Shechina, Im Keroshim Otechorim, Kezochar Kimasilrim, Et Nishmat Hava Bat Yaakov, Shechalal Olama, Baal Harachamim, Yastirecha, Beset Kanafav Olamim, Vaitzur, Vitzur HaChaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Elaine, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. Amen. Just one more poem before we recite Kaddish. Another one I think that's so fitting for your mom. When I die, if you need to weep, cry for someone walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around others and give them what you need from me. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands and letting souls touch souls. You can love me most by sharing your joys and multiplying your good deeds. You can love me most by letting me live in your eyes and not in your mind. And when you say Kaddish for me, remember what our Torah teaches. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that is left of me is love, give me away. The Kaddish prayer is on the alternate page. Yit Gadal, Yit Gadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yoma Divrach, Yerutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, Ufayed Chol Beit Yisrael, V'agalau V'zman Kariv, V'yimaru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam U'lamei Omaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitroman V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudisha B'rechu Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechamata Damiron Be'alma V'yimaru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'yalko Yisrael V'yimaru. Amen. Osei Shalom B'romav Uya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'yalko Yisrael V'yalko Yoshvei Tevel V'yimaru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us, and we say together, Amen. So friends, we're going to lower the casket now. As I informed the family, there's water in the grave and you were hearing some splashing. We're going to try to do this as eloquently as possible, but we're dealing with some natural elements here that are beyond our control, and so we're prepared for that, but just prepare yourselves, it might get a little messy. The water may come above the grave. And then after the casket is placed, I'll invite you to come forward to place earth.
machine on. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we are going to move the arm of the machine on just to keep it stable, okay, because it's floating a bit in the water. Friends, we're just moving the arm of the machine onto the casket because of so much water. We want to stabilize the casket. This is not how we normally do it. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. So I'm going to ask the family to come forward now to place shovels of earth. It's customary and tradition to place 3 shovels of earth. Usually the first shovel that each of us does is with the shovel upside down. So the cove part is facing up to show this is not normal shoveling. And then the other 3, and then returning the shovel to the mound so that each person can fulfill the mitzvah on their own. Once we've all had an opportunity to do that, we can leave this place and our grounds crew will take care of the rest, okay? Please be careful along the edge. It's a little soft. Well done, Ron. Well done. Well done. You're welcome to keep the programs, but if not, because they have God's name on them, we don't just throw them away. We actually bury them at a Jewish cemetery. So I'll ask you to place them inside the grave so that we can surround her with words of Torah. You can just put that shovel down, that's fine. If anybody else would like to come and fulfill this mitzvah, there's shovels on both sides. Please be careful as you approach. For those that are watching online, this concludes the streaming of the service.